if we were really like the smartest species on the planet, why are we not protecting those that are lesser than us? Like, why are we destroying them? Why are we using them like commodities? They're not for us to use. Hey everyone, it's Sammy. Loads of people asked me about my journey to veganism after last week's video, so I thought I would make a video dedicated to just that. And for me, the journey wasn't quite as straightforward as for some, but I thought this might be useful to some of you because it's not straightforward to everybody. There's bumps and dips and all sorts of stuff along the way, and life gets in the way no matter how committed we are to things. And I try and do kind of little vegan Insta stories and recommendations on my Instagram, MissMay27. I also have a different Instagram, but I've lost the password to it, and I've just been lazy, which I had started earlier this year for like healthy living, which would be perfect for this, but since I'm not really logging into it or doing anything at all, yeah, it's probably not relevant. But yeah, if you're interested in the topic, check out my Instagram. It's mostly, the pictures are mostly work stuff, but Insta stories are more about my life, so to speak. And also I'm gonna link a couple of really good documentaries below if you are interested in the topic. I would love to hear anybody's stories if you're carnivore, vegetarian, vegan, if you're thinking about stuff like that. It's like, right now it's like my favorite topic to talk about. So my journey actually starts way back in art school. So I was in art school in the 90s, and it was just a done thing. So many of us were vegetarian. So I went vegetarian. I don't come from a vegetarian family at all. But there was a lot of, I was always really picky about any kind of meat that I ate, and I didn't really like a lot of things that were meat related. I was usually grossed out, but I used to like the worst kind of meat, like, you know, hot dogs and hamburgers and stuff like that. Totally unrecognizable meat. But so I went vegetarian, and it wasn't really kind of for a big, I would like to say it was a big ethical thing. It wasn't. It was just because everyone was doing that in art school. And afterwards, when I moved to the UK, every once in a while I would have meat, and that's because I didn't really have an ethical or environmental or any kind of a stance on why I was a vegetarian. So it was really easy to kind of, I guess, divert from it. And then a couple of years passed, and then we're kind of up to 10 years ago when I started developing like issues with my stomach, and I really like started looking at what I was eating, and I realized it was dairy. So I cut out all milk products, replaced them with plant milks. I was still having a bit of cheese because that wasn't really affecting me, but I became more committed vegetarian again. I was really kind of paying attention to what I was eating, and nothing had clicked ethically again, but I was paying attention to stuff, I guess, whereas I hadn't before. And then I was working in advertising, and I met this woman, Taylor. I need to send you a note, Taylor, that I'm mentioning you in a video, because there's always somebody and something that changes things even though they don't know they are. She was a copywriter and worked in the next office to me, and somehow in conversation, she never really talked about veganism. It just came out that she was vegan, and I was like, oh, and this is gonna like show everyone how ignorant about veganism I was at the time. I was like, but you're not a hippie. Like, I thought she was just a really cool girl. And then I was like, but you bought like cupcakes to work last week. And she's like, yeah, they were vegan cupcakes. And I was like really blown by this. And like, she was a totally normal copywriter in an ad agency. She was vegan. And I asked her a few questions about it, but I didn't really ask too many I was just really stunned, I guess. And it got me thinking, and I started researching veganism. And the first book I bought was called something like Vegan Freak, and it's by Bob Torres. Him and his wife used to have the vegan podcast as well, but it's no longer live, which is really sad. I used to love it. And that suggested that try veganism for 21 days, and obviously I did. And during those 21 days, I was very much educating myself, and I came to a couple of realizations. First of all, the first one was a speciesist one, as in why do we love our cats and dogs so much, and then we give no value to a pig's or a cow's life. And I had a cat, not Esme, I'm looking there because my cat is like literally on the bed with me. Yes, I'm talking about you. And why do I love this little creature? It has a little personality, has feelings, can feel pain so much. And then I don't mind another creature living a horrible life, being, you know, I don't want to talk about all the horrible things that they do to animals in this video. There are plenty of resources for that. But, you know, they are in a dairy farm all of their sad and miserable lives, basically. That didn't make any sense to me, the whole speciesist thing. I'm very much against any type of racism, and speciesism kind of goes into that category. And secondly, I felt like if we were really like the smartest species on the planet, why are we not protecting those that are lesser than us? Like, why are we destroying them? Why are we using them like commodities? They're not for us to use. If we are so superior and so intellectual, why are we destroying these like beings that are sentient beings? That just made no sense to me whatsoever. So I just went vegan. I was quite preachy at the time as well. And I was really happy with my choice. I loved it. I was living in London, and then we moved to Paris, and then things started going wrong for me. Paris at the time, so this would have been 2009, was not vegan friendly, to say the least. It wasn't really even vegetarian friendly. And the ignorance was incredible. Like, I would go to a restaurant and I can remember having a waiter tell me that veganism didn't exist, that there are no, like, it was really weird, and I would get a lot of attitude. People would go, I don't think we can do anything. It was just all like, yeah, well, why did you come here? And it was affecting, so it was like a new city for us. We were making new friends, wanted to go out for dinners, and my husband was feeling tense because he knew I wouldn't have anything to eat. I would have a green salad and the bread basket. Or get too drunk because I didn't have anything to eat and just drink red wine. But yeah, it was really affecting like my quality of life there. When it was just the two of us, we would go to one of the few vegetarian restaurants, which were really terrible at the time. Now there's loads of way better ones. So I decided, after careful consideration, that I would go vegetarian when I was outside of the house and vegan in the house. Now looking back at it, it kind of brought me a lot of, I mean, it made things easier, but that's when I started living a lie, as in I wasn't true to myself anymore. I also was retraining as a makeup artist, and I wasn't paying attention to the products that I was buying, if they were cruelty-free, vegan or anything. And very slowly, like a little bit of cheese would sneak up. I never went back to milk or anything like that, but a little bit of cheese would sneak into our house, and instead of my husband having it, I was having it too. And I wasn't happy with what I was doing, but I kept doing it, and I was kind of living in conflict, and that will never make for a very balanced and happy life. Because in my heart of hearts, I knew that the way that I was living, I don't mind if you're vegetarian, vegan, meat eater, whatever, but if you're true to yourself, that's kind of what matters. And I wasn't being true to myself. And so when we moved back to London, I thought, oh, I'm just going to go vegan. and I wasn't recommitting to myself, so I would be vegan for 3 months and then eat pizza or eat ice cream or whatever, and I would keep going back and forth, and it wasn't healthy and it wasn't consistent, and it also just, I felt like I just wasn't, I couldn't breathe properly because I was doing something that I wasn't proud of, and I was being a part of something that I really hated. So then about, I don't know, a month, 2 months ago, there was Veg Fest in London, and I went to that, and my commitment to veganism was like, it was all of a sudden that I could breathe again. And I didn't know when we went there, it was actually my husband that bought the tickets, and that I would come out 100%, 1000% vegan again, and not, it just felt like I could breathe, that I could just be myself, and I felt like I didn't have to apologize for what I felt or what I believed. I felt really restored. One of the main speakers was James Aspey, whose channel I'm going to link below. I really love his attitude to spreading the word of veganism. There's a lot of YouTube videos, there's a lot of hatred and bitching really in the vegan community in YouTube, and a lot of it is really unhealthy. If you know good channels, let me know. So I just felt like I was myself again, and what really worried me was I was going to Sweden and Finland, and I was worried about my mum would go, oh, this is really difficult again. To my great surprise, she'd gotten tons of different kinds of plant milks, vegan cheese from her normal supermarket. Finland was like so vegan, I didn't even realize things like McDonald's out of anywhere in the world had introduced their vegan burger in my hometown. First, they're using it as a testing ground, so it must mean that there's tons of vegans in my hometown. And it was everywhere, and it was, but you know, having said that, Scandinavia often is in the forefront of a lot of really good things. Like Finland was the first country where women were given the right to vote in Europe. New Zealand was the first one worldwide, I think. But, you know, a lot of important things are just kind of great in that part of the world. So yeah, I was so surprised and so excited, so excited, and I didn't feel like any kind of a freak. I felt pretty normal, that just ate differently. My little nephew was like, we were like getting candy from Pick a Mix, and all the vegan candies are actually like, there's a little sign on them, and he was making a little light bag of just vegan sweets for me and him, like so sweet. We went for a burger with him as well, like after I took him to the barber's to get a little haircut, and I just assumed that I would have a Diet Coke while he's having his burger, and they had a vegetarian burger, and I said, is that vegan by any chance? And they said, oh, we can make it vegan, I just changed the sauce. And I was like, oh my god, thank you. So it was so much easier than I had imagined. And now, because I work in Paris most summers, and over there's been like so many amazing developments. There's been so many restaurants that have opened. It's becoming a little bit more mainstream. France is definitely behind in that, but it is becoming a little bit easier, a little bit more mainstream, which I'm really happy about. And it's just, yeah, it's like this massive weight has been lifted off my shoulders that I am being true to myself. I know that I've got big hurdles. When I was vegan for the first time, I was working as an art director. Now I am working as a makeup artist. So I'm gonna have to update my kit. I cannot afford to update everything in one go. It's gonna have to be a slow process. I can make videos of that if anybody's interested. Yeah, I can't, like, I just financially cannot get rid of everything and start everything again, because it's a lot of money, let me tell you that. Anyways, I would love to hear your vegan stories or vegetarian stories, if you've ever thought about it. Any links to amazing vegan channels would be appreciated, anything like that at all. So I'm gonna make a new video next week. I have no idea what this is going to be yet, but yeah, I'll see you next week. Bye.